Good evening. Hello, hello. Buenas noches. How is everybody doing? Um, I'm just going to chit chat for a little bit because, again, the notifications from YouTube are a little slow in going out. So I know there may be people who are not sure if I'm live or not. But if you're here and you joined me live, feel free to say hello in the chat. I can tell y'all this tonight's live is going to be a little different, maybe a little chaotic, a lot like what my life is looking like right now, the chaos that is existing over here. Good evening, Stephanie. How are you doing? I saw your live today on IG. I know you're in packing mode. I was just thinking about you and your move to Costa Rica. Hey, Malaysia. And I know who you are, but I can't remember your real name to save my life right now. So I apologize for that. But hey, Kimmy. Hey, Beliza Negra. Um, like I said, tonight it's going to be kind of chaotic because I really was having a hard time trying to decide what to talk about. I had several topics in mind and I would start to like plan out one and then I'd be like, "Oh no, this would be a better thing to talk about." Or no, this would be a better thing to talk about. So, why not I say why not let's just talk about any and everything. So, if you have been dying to ask me some question, tonight is your night. You are so lucky. You can get up in here and get your questions answered. And while I see more people popping in, hey, y'all, I see you in the chat. I will go ahead and introduce myself, although I have a sneaky suspicion no one who is new is going to want to watch this video. But if you are new here, you're catching this on the replay because the YouTube algorithm has fed it to you. Hello. I'm so glad you were able to watch this video. My name is Adelia Aborashade, although most people on the internet know me as Picky Girl Travels the World because that's who I am and what I do. I am picky and I travel. But in addition to that, if you want to call it my day job, I help Black women develop financial confidence so that they can live the life they want. Now, do I help only Black women? No, but that's my target demographic. And so this YouTube channel is one of the ways that I do that. I share my life living outside the United States for 7 years now. I share my travels here. We talk about money and how one can become financially confident. Those are all the cool things we do on this channel. So, if any of that sounds exciting, I think you found your people. The Picky Girl Nation welcomes you. Be sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, do all the things, hit all the buttons, you know. So, um, so that's my little intro spiel. I did want to check in with those of you who are doing the no spend challenge. And again, if you're new, maybe you don't know about this, but starting on August 16th, um, I and some folks here that are part of the Picky Girl Nation are going to be doing a no spend month, a month where we refrain from spending money on non necessities or we work to lower spending in specific categories. I did a video last week, last Wednesday, about how to prepare. So, if that sounds interesting to you and you're not signed up, go to the website pickygirltravelstheworld.com/slash no spend challenge. Sign up. For those of you that did sign up, you should have gotten an email today with your printables in it because we have 1 week, 1 week from today, and we will be not spending any money. So I wanted to check in with y'all kind of see if there were any questions, any stumbling blocks, any concerns specifically about the challenge. Um, Somebody last week asked a really good, or maybe it was the week before, asked what was I gonna do? Because typically when you do something like a no spend challenge, eating is essential. Eating out for a lot of people is not essential. And we all know how much I dislike cooking and all of that. So like what is my rule going to be for the challenge when it comes to food? And I'm still trying to sort out because here in Mexico City, it might be cheaper actually for me to eat out than for me to cook food at home. So I'm trying to decide between, do I want to just cap my food spending for each week at a certain amount? Do I want to limit, maybe the how many times I go out to eat or the kind of places I go out to eat? So I'm still trying to sort through that. And I was curious if were if y'all had any stumbling blocks or things you were stuck on or questions about the no spin challenge. This is a really good reset button for your finances, especially if you're in a season of life, um, like I think I kind of am, where I'm sort of gonna revamp my finances on the whole. And so I think this is a good place to start that process. And we can talk about that if y'all want. Okay. I am not seeing any questions about the no spin challenge. So we will move on from there. Yes. Thank you, CM Stu. I did finally upload the first part of the footage from my time in Cuba back in November of 2022. Yes, I realize it is now August of 2023, but like I tell y'all all the time time is meaningless. Okay. So it is my hope that either next week or the week after, I get y'all the second part of that video on Cuba. And if you didn't know, that video is up. Yes, it is. And if you were curious, I think you should check it out. Okay. Part of the reason that there's a lot of chaotic energy right now in my life, and I think it was so hard for me to choose a single topic for us to talk about tonight, is that I have had a house guest, an 8-year-old house guest. My oldest granddaughter has been visiting and will be visiting for another week. And my house and my life is chaos right now. And I have not I have not been in a place like this in a long time, and so it's kind of got my head going in a lot of directions and thinking about, like, "Good grief, girl. How did I do this? How did I get myself ready, plus 2 to 3 other small people ready to go places outside on a regular basis?" I don't know. I The life I used to live is so foreign to me now. I cannot fathom how I used to do this, and it is wearing me out. I'm so tired, which is why I have on what do you call these things? A caftan, because like, I couldn't muster the energy to put on real clothes today. Not at all. So, that's kind of why things are a little wonky over here. But like I said, if y'all have got questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. If you wanna talk about travel, you wanna talk about money, since we are doing the no spend challenge, starting next week, you know, I always love to talk money. If you want to talk about moving abroad, I had several ideas related to that because of some stuff I've seen, some shenanigans I've seen lately. So yeah, drop it in the chat. Drop it in the chat. Okay. Um These questions are in no particular order. How did you get the courage to say "F it" and just leave? Um, I don't know if I've not seen your name before, so I don't know if you're new to the channel, but on Friday, I released an episode of my podcast with Ivana Robinson, who is we work together sponsoring retreats. What? In a little bit, okay? Okay. Um, and so in Friday's episode, we talked about like, would we call ourselves brave and like venturing out of your um comfort zone? So I find your question really interesting. I don't know that it was courage. I think a lot of people who could look at the choice that I made 7 years ago as kind of being um, stupid or reckless. So I don't know. If you think it was courageous, that's great. I don't know if I think that. But how did I make that choice to leave? For me personally, I was gonna say staying would have been an horrible thing, but that is not true. Honestly, um, this is actually one of the things I wanted to talk to y'all about. Like, I know a lot of the content that is on this channel is about leaving the US. But I have said repeatedly that you don't have to leave. Like, there is a version of this story where I got to live this soft life in the US. Now, it would look a little different because it takes more money to live this life there, so I would have had to make some compromises. But leaving the US wasn't the big thing for me. Leaving the 20-year marriage, leaving the 20 plus year career, to me, those were the bigger things. And for those things, if I had not left, I don't think there would be any of me left around. Like, it was a survival thing. I don't know that I would have come out on the other side. And so I made a choice that I am going to choose myself. I'm not going to let these other folks win. Now, as far as leaving the US, that I get your question because, there's a lot of uncertainty. When I left the United States 7 years ago, I moved to Honduras, which is not a place you hear about a lot of people from the US going who are not in the military, let alone with a 15-year-old kid. But I think I just believed that the life that I wanted and the life that I deserved existed. I just would have to figure it out and try things on. Like, I knew when I moved to Honduras, it was not going to be forever. But it was my gateway, my starting point to getting me to figuring out what the life I wanted looked like and how I could get that. So, so yeah. Um, Okay, just see for other questions in here. Um, okay, Lavita, investment opportunities in the US for those living abroad. As a US citizen or a US permanent resident, somebody with a green card, you really have the same options available to you when you are outside of the US as you do when you're inside. Um, however, so like, I have a Fidelity account. I invest in the same low cost ETFs that I did before. Like, none of that changed. If you're asking this question, thinking about like you hear people who have left the US talk about difficulties, that's more to do with kind of the administrative side and the paperwork side, that there are some brokerages that don't really like it when you live overseas because they don't want to deal with the extra paperwork. But as an American, unlike some other countries where if you are non-resident, like you still have your citizenship, but you live in another country and you can like alter your tax status and other things like that. The US doesn't have that. So you can still invest in the same things that you would have before. Um, you might have to deal with some trickiness of like, where is the money coming from? If the money is coming offshore outside the US, you've got conversion rates to deal with and trying to time that so that they're favorable. Um, Depending on the country you're in, it might be a country that is flagged by the US. So, like we were talking about Cuba, uh, just for the fact I was in Cuba and I made an Instagram post from Cuba, Meta decided they would remove my ability to do any kind of advertising or sponsored posts. So, like, if you're in a country that has a difficult financial relationship with the US, that could be an issue. But on the whole, your options are still the same, as far as I know. Let's see. Um, Reese, I need some more clarification on this question. What steps would you take if you limited work experience? Steps for what? Give me some more details and we'll circle back to that question. Um, would you recommend Cuba? For what? I said this in the first part of that vlog. Visiting Cuba is difficult. I am at a place in my life where I really, really value ease and doing things the easy way. And there is nothing easy about traveling to Cuba, as y'all saw, where I got detained in immigration for an hour and nobody really told me what was going on. So like, would I recommend it for a vacation? No. There are much easier places to go. However, am I glad I went? Yes. Would I go again? Possibly. But it oh, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without hurting some folks' feelings. When it comes to Cuba, I think it is very for me, I cannot separate the quality of life struggles that locals are having from like, "Oh, I'm here on vacation." So, like, when I see people post their pictures from Cuba and it's just like they talk about like how much, not that I'm mad at people for having fun, but they talk about like all the things they did and the restaurants and this and that. I can't not know what I know about, and y'all saw this in the vlog. Every place that we went, there was lots of food, but I know the kind of work the people who own that restaurant had to go through to get that food. I know the exorbitant cost that they had to pay so that we could have those things. I know that, like, for a lot of restaurants, we didn't know what the menu was going to be because they don't know what kind of food options are gonna be available to them. So, I think if you can visit in such a way that is mindful of the struggle and the suffering of the Cuban people, I think it is definitely uh, something to do, particularly because we get such a filtered version of the rest of the world, or not even filtered, distorted version of the rest of the world um, in the US. And so the pictures that the US media paints of Cuba and the realities that I saw, two very different things. And so for that reason, yes, I do think it's a good place to go, but you know, visit in such a way that you are not doing more harm than good, or at least that's how I feel about it. Okay, let's see. Excuse me. Oh, I feel like I missed something in the chat. Okay. Um All right, so here's the rest of Teresa's question. I'm trying to leave the US and I need to work, but the challenge is finding remote work because I do not have a lot of experience. My first thought is, are you only considering remote work? Um, if I was in your situation, or hell, I kind of was. I wanted to leave the US, but I also wanted to leave the career I was in. However, when I looked at what my options were in getting visas, discovered that the career that I had at the time was the easiest way for me to get out. And so for me, my priority was, let me get out sooner and I'll sort the rest of this out later. So I did that. And so there are other ways to move abroad that don't require remote work. Uh, some of it is you create your own job. Some of it is you take advantage of critical shortages that exist in the other countries. Like yesterday, I shared a story on Instagram about how Denmark has, I think they need to hire something like 70,000 foreigners because, or no, maybe it's 70. They have 70 areas of critical shortage. And so if you currently work in a field in Denmark, lots of people speak English. You want to get citizenship, you probably got to learn Danish. But for work, you could probably get away with speaking only English. There's that. I did a video a couple years ago about afford afford to work abroad, where it runs down like the different categories you could use. Last month, was it? I did two videos. One called Find a Job Abroad, and talks about like which countries have critical shortage, where you can look to find that information. And then I did one on being too broke, that there were certain situations in which foreign governments will actually pay you to work there. I'm not talking about what I've seen a lot of TikToks and reels on, where they're like, oh, this village in Italy is paying people 10,000 euro to come live there. What people don't tell you about those is that does not include a visa. Like, if you have your own visa and you can move to Italy, then yes, they will pay you to live in that town, but they are not going to take care of your visa. So, besides remote work, there are other options. And so, if I were in your space, I would ask myself, what's more important to me? That I find the perfect job right out the box, or I find a way to get me out of the US and then I work out the rest of it later. Okay. All right. You would be open to teaching English. You need to check out that video. Ooh, can I find the quickly? Probably not. Um, I can't. But if you look, these were not live videos, they were regular uploads. Get a job abroad and Too Broke to Move Abroad. If you check those out, you'll probably find some options. Sorry about that, y'all. Sorry about that. Okay. Um, let's see, what other questions do we have? Um, Now that the Mexican peso is doing well, are you finding it more expensive when spending the US dollar? Do you have to pivot financially in retirement? Um, Everything is more expensive. I got to pay my rent tomorrow, and I have been watching the exchange rate, although I don't do any special thing to be like, oh, let me, if it shoots up, I might make a point to transfer some money over, but a lot of times I just get the exchange rate I get, and it is what it is. So between my small rent increase, which was only 7%, and the strength of the peso, my rent is costing me significantly more. Um, ha- have I had to pivot? No, no, I haven't. But like, I mean, I guess I knew the level of affordability wasn't going to necessarily be the same forever. And so, like, I think when it comes to Mexico, there's kind of two groups of people. There are the people who moved here because they thought it was super cheap and it was an easy thing to do during the height of the pandemic because the borders were open here. Um, and those people are very vocal about the increase in prices or, what we're actually paying. And then there are the folks like me who I intend to be here kind of no matter what. So, if things continue this way, and as some people are talking crazy talk, like we get down to 10, like I will have to make some adjustments in how I live my life. Like I might have to do some co-living, which I haven't wanted to do, but outside of just grumbling about like, this sure is costing me a lot more than it used to. No big changes for me. I think that's part of the game. You know, Rashida Dow talked about this in one of her videos not too long ago, kind of on this topic that like when you're choosing a place to live, cost of living can be a factor, but don't like where can I go that is the cheapest and like that is your ceiling because then you set yourself up. So like if what I was paying for things 3 years ago was my ceiling, oh, I would be definitely hurting right now, but that was not the case. So, this is an interesting question, PS beloved, because nobody's ever asked about it. My thoughts on moving to Guam or the Northern Mariana Islands as a way to leave the US without leaving the US. Um, on the one hand, if you're somebody who likes the beach and the ocean, those are great options. Um, because there's a lot of the US nonsense that is really some mainland US nonsense that you could like escape from. The minute I read those 2 places, I just thought about how expensive, because island living is expensive. It doesn't matter where the island is. The island could be Australia, it could be New Zealand, it could be Turks and Caicos. Having to import everything is going to drive up the cost of living. Um, I used to be a geography teacher, and, like, the Northern Mariana Islands, other than like offshore manufacturing, because I'm not gonna call it sweatshops. Other than that, like I think their largest export was dried coconut meat. So I think about how expensive these places are to live, and I think about how expensive it would be to travel anywhere because both of those are in the middle of the Pacific Island. So if you want to ever go anywhere other than there, it is gonna cost you a lot of money, and it's gonna cost you a lot of time. If you are somebody who you're like, "All I need is a beach, uh, some coconuts, and a hammock, and I'm good," those might be good choices. But if you want, like, city amenities, I would not choose those places. I would not choose them at all. Um, let's see. Go in here and see if there are any more um, questions. Yeah, trees. I forgot. A week before last, I talked to a woman who did the EPIC program in South Korea. Um, and so she talked about that and was really open to being a resource for somebody who was looking to teach English um, in Korea. Okay, see if there are any more uh, questions. Uh, Simi, what is VSO? I looked into VSO and they provide housing, very small stipend for living expenses for 9 to 5. What do you think? It depends on what it is you want to do. One of the things having my granddaughter here, like is has done is it's kind of like made me rethink a lot of my life choices. Like, could I go back to doing this on a full-time basis? The answer is no, I could not. Um, and like, if something were to happen where I needed to be responsible for the small children, of course, my preference would be to bring them here or wherever I live, but they got daddies and they might not be cool with that. So, like, I started imagining in my head a little bit, what would that look like if I had to live this life in the US? And I could. I would still, if I lived in the US, had I not chosen to move abroad for whatever reason, had I not chosen to move abroad, I believe at 48, I would still be pursuing a soft life, a life of ease. Now, what that would look like would be different because that would mean like not trying to bust my ass and make the most money. So, like, how much money is enough money? Does it provide you the life you want? So, to your question, if they're giving you a stipend and uh they're providing housing, like, does that then leave you with enough money to do the things you wanna do, live the life you wanna live? If it does, I don't see a lose there. Unless I'm okay, VSO. Gotcha, gotcha. The, UK version of Peace Corps. Like, if it lets you do the thing you wanna do, I don't see a problem with it. Um, one of the other, things that have kind of occurred to me as I've been thinking about so many things over this last week is I I thought about this too on, was it Sunday when Rashida had, I wanna say Dr. Bell. Is that her last name? Dr. Bell? Had her on and she's talking about the program she was launching on August 8th for high achievers, and then she described high achievers, and then listening to that description, I was like, "Girl, you have not been a high achiever. No wonder so much of my life was a struggle because on the one hand, you have Black excellence and all of these expectations that fit really well if you're a high achiever. I am not. I have it makes so much sense now why I had so much angst and uh disconnectedness with, like, the things I was supposed to want out of life, because from the earliest job I have ever had, I have just wanted to make enough money so I could chill, and that is so, like, the antithesis of the American dream and Black excellence. So, if that's what VSO would give you, if with that amount of money and the whatever the requirements would be for the work that they want you to do. If outside of that, you can still live the life you want, I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem. Spoken by a recovering overachiever. I just remember when you, because it just sort of clicked in my head, and I thought, "This is why I was like, "This is why I have dropped out of 3 different graduate programs, because it was like, 'Oh, I'm supposed to be doing this thing. Let me go try and do this thing.' And then as I'm trying to do it, I'm like, 'I don't really wanna do this thing.'" But in the back of my head, I kept hearing that voice of like, "Girl, you gotta go, you gotta achieve." I ain't never want that. And I just never saw that reflected around me because, as Black folks, we got to work twice as hard for half as much and Black excellence and the American dream and all of that. So, me being like, because I can remember in high school, I don't know if it was career day or if it was the counselor asked, like, what do you want to do? And I kid y'all not, my answer was, I wanted a job with insurance and make enough money. Like, that was where I was aiming. I have never had like this desire to conquer the world. I have always wanted to just chill. I've just never been in a place or a space that would allow me to do that. Um, Turns out I had to go out and make it on my own. So, okay. What other questions y'all got? Um, Kimmy, what's a good certification to have that works in getting remote work? That is the wrong question to ask because what kind of remote work? What industry? There isn't necessarily one certification that's going to take care of everything. Now, you already know who I'm going to suggest you check their stuff out. And there is a link in the description of this video to Libria Jones's uh, remote work stuff. And if you're going to Exodus Summit 2023, it was announced last week that she's going to be a speaker. So I think you need to refine what kind you need to refine your question and think about like what kind of remote work are you talking about? Like, it's sort of like when people say, "Oh, well, I'm trying to find a job," and folks like, "It's a ton of jobs out there." And in your head, you're like, "Yeah, but I don't want that job or that job." Okay, it's now time to say the quiet part out loud. Like, what is important to you? Is it the kind of work you do? Is there a kind of work that you find far more tolerable than some other work? Um, all that kind of good stuff. This is what I'm talking about, Quinn. Me and you on the same page. Okay, let's see. Any other questions, y'all? Um, how are you enjoying CDMX these days? Um, I still love this city. I I don't know if I can say I fall more in love with it every day, but this is still my happy place. Y'all know how on Facebook they have those like, what kind of pizza are you quizzes or whatever. Not too long after I moved here, there was something called a soul home quiz. And a friend of mine had taken it, because it used to come up in your wall, in your feed. And so I clicked it. And do you know what place the quiz told me was my soul home? Mexico City. Even the Facebook quiz knew. So, Mexico City is still Bay. Where would your second and third choice cities for residency be? What's the straight deal with Argentina? I don't know nothing about Argentina. I will be there for a week in November, but I don't know nothing about Argentina. Uh, if those of you who have been watching this channel a while know that my country shopping journey continues as I would like to have residency in at least one other country. I am a US citizen, I am a permanent resident of Mexico, and I would like at least one more country. But that process, because I am picky, hasn't been the easiest. But right now, believe it or not, like Denmark, Sweden is still in there, the Netherlands are still in there. I would like to find an option in South America, but so far, I'm not finding one that just doesn't where like the weather isn't horrible. So I don't know. The jury that's a on process. The jury is still out there. The jury's out. Okay. Let's see. What other questions y'all got? What grad programs did you consider? Oh, okay. Something to know about me is when I got my bachelor's degree, I did not get to go to the school I wanted to go to because my mother neglected to have a frank conversation with me about her inability to provide any financial support. So the school I wanted to go to gave me what would not even cover tuition for a year. I think it might have been tuition for a semester, the dollar amount they gave me. The school I ended up going to, not because they had what I wanted to study necessarily, but because the dollar amount they gave me literally covered the entire cost of my degree, but I didn't live on campus. So I went to a school. uh, I told y'all my great aspirations were to get a job that had benefits and to chill, right? Um, and because I was an 18-year-old Gen X who had very little adult supervision, I thought, I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna major in business, and I'm gonna open some clubs, nightclubs, because that's what I was doing with my life at the time. And eventually, after I made my millions from that, I would go back and be a teacher. And then I had to take financial accounting, and I used to fall asleep in that class every single day. So I looked around at the people in that room, the other 200 people, and I thought to myself, I do not care about this enough to compete with y'all for jobs. I'm going to change my major. F it. I'll just be a teacher now. The money ain't everything. And so in that teaching career, well, first of all, so I'm at a school I didn't necessarily want to go to. Um, I discover geography. Like this is my thing. This is my jam. The university I went to had just dismantled their geography program. So I could not get a degree in the subject I wanted to get. I had to settle for just taking a few classes, enough to get my teaching certification. So oh, it might be four. Yeah, I think it is 4 graduate programs I dropped out of. So the first one was to get a degree in geography. That didn't work out. Then I went back and I thought about, "Oh, I'll be" oh, then I transitioned into a position that was outside the classroom. It's kind of like instructional design, technology integration. I was like, I'll get a degree in like training, HRD. That way I can transition out of teaching into the real world. Uh, Dropped out of that. Then I said, okay, let me just come to peace with the fact that I'm going to be in K-12 education. What can I do that's going to get me out of the classroom? Because I had no interest in managing people. At my first job, when I was 15 years old, they made me the foreman. And I said then I never wanted to manage people. So becoming like a principal, never one of my things. So I was like, what could I do? I was going to get an education master's so that I could become a curriculum specialist. That didn't work out. So then I circled on back to geography because it was my first love. And yeah, so that's actually, I have dropped out of 4 graduate programs. Now, you ask about like you're considering a master's degree in France or Hungary. Now, if I had to do it all over again, knowing what I know now, um, and assuming I would have kicked that man to the curb that was holding me back, absolutely. When I was trying to figure out like what is this thing I should study or whatever, I'd have absolutely got a degree in another country because that would have solved my problem of wanting to live abroad. It would help with my visa situation, and it would have cost me so much less money. Y'all, for several of those programs, I finished the coursework. I never took out a student loan. I paid for all that shit myself. So I do sometimes think about, girl, what if you had that money? So yeah, I totally would and quiet as kept, a student visa is still in my back pocket. That may be how I end up getting my next residency. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I don't know. Ooh, this is an interesting question. Do you think looking at a country's retirement age is a fair measure if ageism would be an issue? That would be an interesting thing to look at. But when I would be looking at if I did look at that statistic, I would also want to know, is this a country that has like a retirement safety net? When people retire, are they getting money from the government? Not like Social Security. Because like in the US, you see I'm working right now. You can get it. Be careful. Um I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yeah. Social Security, like, on paper, it looks like, "Oh, well, in the US, at 62, you get Social Security," but we all know Social Security might not be enough for you. So, I would be curious, is it the kind of place where, like, are people getting government money when they retire? Do they have unions? That sort of thing? Um I assume you're asking about ageism because you're curious about working someplace. And so for a lot of countries, you can see the age like will they even let you apply? Will they let an employer issue a visa if you are over a certain age? So, like when I lived in China, I believe the age there was 60. After that point, they would not issue you a work visa, which is why a lot of people then come to Latin America because I don't think any of the Latin American countries have age limits on work visas. So, if that's why you're asking, that would be something else to look at. Um, I think the question is about not is ageism an issue because I would bet it is everywhere. It is how big of an issue is it going to be? So like I was looking at immigrating to Canada because like I speak English. So I should get some points. They have a point system. I should get some points speaking one of the national languages, blah blah blah. All was good until I put my age in there and they were like, "Girl, you over 40, we don't want you." So, yeah, I think ageism is going to be an issue. The question is how big of an issue. Um, yes, I have. I've actually interviewed several people, but only one of them we've dug into like why they came back. And I will tell you, almost every person I have spoken to who left the US and had to come back, I can't think of a single one that I have spoken to who said, "I'm back for good." Most was, "I'm back. This is a temporary thing. I will be leaving again." Um, I can't think of the girl's name, but she was in Japan and found a husband and was having a baby, and that's why she came back. That's was the focus of our conversation. There are other people I spoke to who have moved back, but that wasn't the focus of the interview. Okay. As I see several people, mentioning countries. One of my problems, if we gonna call it that, it's not a real problem, is when I am looking at visa options for the next country, there are quite a few places I could get a work visa, but they would want me to do real work on someone else's timetable and schedule, and I don't want to do that. Um, if if I can get a visa to live there and just show up and be me, that's more the speed that I'm looking at. Um, how did you decide which countries to shop? Was it based on a whim or research? I did a video about this. It has country shopping in the title of it. I can't remember the name of it, but I did a video about this. And for me, it started with what were the issues and the things I did not like about the country I was born in. And so I those were the top categories, so things like healthcare, treatment of women, so on and so forth, which I know doesn't really fit with Mexico because Mexico is not a great place if you are a woman compared to some place like Iceland, Norway, Finland, you know. But that I started with those things and thought about like what are my non-negotiables, like hot weather, that is one of my non-negotiables. Thank you for this, Sabrina. That interview with Malika, I knew it was going to resonate with people. Um, and so like that's why I was like, I really wanted to have her on because I knew hearing her story and was gonna click with a lot of folks. Um, let's see. Can I do a video on how to get a student visa? I mean, I guess I could. But if you don't wanna wait on me, 'cause girl, who knows when that's gonna be. Um, there is a video on Stephanie Perry's channel about a woman who not only did they pay for her degree, they also, like, gave her a stipend. And then on Our Black Utopia, they interviewed a mom who moved to Lisbon with her son, but that's how mom got in. She got in a student visa. And I can't think of what the title is, but on the thumbnail, mom has a big afro. So that's how you know which one it is. But who knows? I may do one, especially if that is the route that I start taking. Um, you know. Um, I was just thinking in my head, like if that's the route I start taking, which I might need to speed up because, like this could be the end of the world or whatever. And that made me think about the announcement about aliens. What do y'all think about that? Like, are y'all like nonplussed? Is like the rent is too damn high. Don't talk to me about aliens. I'm curious. Um, because I have not seen anything like, I don't ingest the news very much. What I see is what comes up on social media, and so I've seen a whole lot more memes about the aliens on the English social media, but in the Spanish accounts or Mexican accounts I follow, they've not really talked about it at all. Thank you, Stephanie. Um, This is the video that I did about country shopping, and I went through, like, what my process was, the table I set up. I also mentioned some of the websites that, I used to do some of the research that I did, like finding World Happiness Index and, the Gender Inequality Index and things like that. Um Uh, okay. So if you're watching this and you're like, "Oh, where's that video?" Stephanie Perry has been so gracious as to drop them in the chat. Uh, Shoshana Child or aliens paying bills? Because if not, and that is what is like so wild to me. Um, I was watching I was watching something that was set in or telling the story of things that happened like in the 90s, at early thousands, late 90s. And I was like, the world is just so different now. Like, imagine had the US government, who has been lying all this time about knowing about aliens, admitted to that 20 years ago. Like, how different the reception to that news would have been versus now, where people are like, whatever. Like, oh, I figure aliens are here, but we don't have the ability to see or hear them, but cats do. Quite possibly. My I have been saying this for years and I still hold to it. I have always said that if there were aliens, I do not, y'all know I'm like super, super practical. I do not have any false notions about them. If they are sophisticated enough to find where we are, what use do they have for us? Either they are going to enslave us or they're going to eat us. And the fact that they've not done either one yet is honestly surprising to me. Um, Dina, did you watch the video I did on countries that will pay you to work there? I think the thumbnail says too broke to move abroad. And then I did interview well, actually, I interviewed three ladies who were in the Peace Corps. One of them, Lisa, yeah, Lisa was in her 60s when she joined the Peace Corps, and she used it as a tool to get into the country she wanted to move. She always wanted to move to Madagascar, and she used the Peace Corps as the means to do that. Um, so if you look, there is a, what do you call it? A playlist of the podcast episodes. Um, Raven was also in Madagascar, and then Nicole Bannister, Nikki Bands, who I interviewed last summer, I think it was, um, worked. She did all kind of stuff, and one of the things she did was work with the Peace Corps. Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. A lot of people have been asking, like, if they are copping to this, the existence of aliens that they have been vehemently denying for years and years and years. What is it that they're trying to distract us from? And at this point, I don't even think I want to know because this whole thing is a big, giant dumpster fire. Um, Sashana, the answer to your question is I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I think they will be announcing more Exodus Summit speakers this week, Friday, maybe. I heard that. I don't know. Um, uh, but I appreciate you looking for me. I really do. Okay. So I don't see no more questions in there. Looking at my list, we actually hit on some of the disparate topics that I wanted to talk to y'all about. I'm looking at my notes here. Um, what was I gonna say? I forgot just that quick. Like I told y'all, it's chaos over here. I have watched so many things on Netflix that like I never ever want to watch again. These little kid shows that oh, ugh. That's all I can say about that. Um, so yeah, I don't think I have anything else, y'all. I think that's it. I'm glad we came and hung out. Do y'all have any more questions about the challenge, about Reclaim the Retreat? Um, Early bird pricing is still in effect, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not gonna be for much longer. So if you are not going to the Exodus Summit meetup in South Africa, and you would like to come hang out with Ivana and I in El Salvador. These are words I should know, and I'm struggling. If you want to come hang out with us for Galentine's Day, this is a special edition version of Reclaim the Retreat. We are halfway sold out. Early bird pricing is ending. That means price will be going up in like less than a week. So, if you've got questions about the retreat, um, challenge, I don't know what else. I was like, there's something else I got going on, but I can't remember what it is right now. Oh, okay, you're right. I did see your question. Mexico cities to move to, newbie as me. You're not telling me enough of what you're looking for. What do you want? Like, if you want to be in the desert, go to Durango, somewhere out there, you know? Um, if you like the tropics, you want mountains. I don't know. It just depends. And it depends. Something else to keep in mind, and I'm not saying this is about you. I'm speaking in general. When folks ask about like places, where should I move? I think we need to be more upfront with what kind of move are you looking for? Are you looking for a soft place to land? Are you like how much struggle do you think you can tolerate? How much of like you not being able to speak the language and communicate as easily are you comfortable with? Because that is going to sort of determine what might be a good fit for you. Are you in any of the Mexico uh, foreigner, expat, immigrant Facebook groups? If you're on Facebook, I'm assuming you're in my age group because yes, I know if there are any young people watching this, that Facebook is for old people. I know. But I will be honest, it is a great place to like connect in those different groups and ask questions and stuff like that. The Expat app, XPAT, that is a app specifically for Black expats, travelers, nomads. That would be another good place to kind of start poking around, see what people are saying about the places that they live. Like it's very surreal. When we got together last month to celebrate my Freedom Day on July 23rd, and so many of the ladies I saw there and at the Exodus Summit meetup here in Mexico City who were like, "Yeah, I'm here because of you." So like, yeah, I talk about on this channel my life in Mexico City, but that's just me. There are many people who do not like this city. As much as I love it, they dislike it. So, listen to what people have to say about the place that they have chosen. Think about like, does that sound like the kind of place that I would be interested in that would work with what I want? Um, if not, no. Um, what are your future travel plans? What new countries are you excited for? I am low key, not that I'm somebody who is like, I'm not big on like, I gotta get to all of the countries in the world or I gotta hit this number count, but I do like for my number count to go up. And with all of the traveling that I have done since December, my country number is not going keep going places I have already been. I won't hit a new country until November, which is Argentina. And then as it stands right now, I think I'm still supposed to be going to Dubai in December. Here is a pro tip: don't go to Dubai in the winter. Everything is double or triple the cost. This was not a smart move. And then of course, my travel plans include all of the Reclaim retreats. So I will be back in El Salvador in 2024. I will be going to Hawaii in 2024, Oaxaca, and then we quite possibly will be announcing soon where the location of the April retreat will be. Um, but again, not a new country I haven't been to. What is it? May. Really the only non-work related travel I have planned so far in 2024 is I will be in South Africa Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Namibia in May. Beyond that, I don't know. Um, I need to see what Mia's health is looking like. She is elderly. She is 14 years old. Most schnauzers, the life expectancy is about 15 years. So really, how much I travel internationally is going to be wrapped around that. So, I'm excited for Southern Africa because the geography teacher in me is like, I'm gonna go to the Namib Desert and I'm gonna go see the Okavango Delta. Like, I'm excited from the geography point of view because I'm a big nerd. I'm a big nerd. Um, does it feel like prices are stabilizing in Mexico? I don't know. I took the kid yesterday to get chicken and waffles, and the new price on the menu, not even considering what the exchange rate has done, the new price on the menu is 50% higher than it was last year. And admittedly, their price for chicken and waffles was a little low. Okay, I will say that. So they were already underpriced before, but I looked at the price on the menu and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is what we're doing." Um, so yeah. Uh, Interview on Friday. There will be a podcast episode on Friday, but it will not be an interview. Um, Hawaii is in July, and part of part of dates and locations is we've got to work around like rainy season, high season, and stuff like that. So, Hawaii is in the schedule for July 2024. And if you are like, hold on, I didn't know y'all were going to have a retreat in Hawaii. Um, if you go to reclaimtheretreat.com, Tiffany so helpfully dropped in the chat. If you go there, there is a wait list specifically for the Hawaii retreat so that you'll be the first to know when registration opens for that. Right now, the only retreat that registration is open for is the Valentine's Day retreat in El Salvador. Um, so yeah, there's that. Ba, 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 ba. Top 5 Spanish speaking countries you would recommend to live. Oh my goodness. I don't know you. So I can't be out here making recommendations for you because I don't know what you want. I don't know what you're looking for. Um, yeah. I can't make that recommendation for you. So you gotta give me more than that. Um, okay. All right. Um, how are the sewing projects going? I still do creative co-working on Sundays. We get together. Y'all know what co-working is. This is kind of like anti-working co-working. It is not about being productive. It is about I want to do this creative thing that brings me joy and I enjoy this. It is not about how far you get or what you're doing. And I'm trying to see, do I have I do. Here we go. Creative co-working. If you go to buymeacoffee.com/Adelia under membership, you can see the information for creative co-working. How are the sewing projects going? They are going. I'll show y'all one. This I started before the Morocco meetup. This, I don't know if you can tell, this was a silk sari that I had bought almost 20 years ago to hang up in my house. And it is becoming, this is the sleeve, it is becoming a robe, except the robe is see through. So it can't be a robe. So I don't know what is that is what I'm working on. There is also a lovely group of ladies here in the city who have decided to learn to sew And so I'm excited about having sewing buddies. Uh, I like this, Stephanie. Maybe Dubai's not double in the winter, it's half in the summer. Maybe that is what it is. This is not a place I would really choose to go on my own. This is a group trip. But do they have a winter? In that it is not 130 degrees outside, uh, and it is less humid, but winter in Dubai is still not cool enough to wear a hoodie, because when I lived in Kuwait, I never needed a jacket ever. Uh, um, huh. Is this something y'all would be interested in? Trip planning live stream? Because I do need to part of my trip to Southern Africa is a group thing, and then part of it is, just probably gonna be me, and I do need to plan that. I don't know. Would y'all be interested in that? I don't know. Thank you, Simi. Thank you. I'm trying to be better, y'all, about getting you podcasts at regular intervals. But life be life and sometimes. Life and okay, so you're saying yes to a trip planning live stream. Okay. We can definitely do that because like I said, I need part of the South Africa trip is all planned out, but then like the crazy stuff, I have to figure this out. And so I'm just kind of like, I have the ideas in my head. Now I got to figure out how to make them happen because this is a part of the world I do not expect to get back to easily, which is part of the reason I've not been there. In Africa, I've been to Morocco twice. I've been to Egypt and I've been to Ghana, but I've not been to the southern part of Africa just because it hasn't been easy. And when I saw this opportunity, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And so now this is where it gets tricky because I think I've mentioned to y'all that often I will be doing the most when it comes to travel. Like again, it's not that I care about how many countries I visit, but I do always wanna be adding a new one. And so, the last big trip I took was January 2020. I had a month off from work, and I was like, "Let me bop around Europe." And instead of doing what would have made sense, which would have been to pick 3 places and sit myself down for a little bit more than a week in each place, I was like, "When am I gonna be back in Europe?" Now, this is pre-pandemic, I didn't know. So it did turn out to be good that I s s squozed, that I fit 10 countries in 29 days. Um, I hate packing and repacking, and I had to have a chat with myself after that trip and was like, "You know you don't like this. Why do you always try and do the most?" Now, admittedly, with there being 2 years of me not traveling anywhere internationally, I am glad that I squeezed in all of those countries, but, I find myself being tempted because I had made a rule that, there could not be any more than 2 destinations in a trip. This is my rule that I am not very good at enforcing. Um, but for this Southern Africa trip, I was like, "But when you gonna be back over here?" So I was like, "Well, what about Eswatini? Like, when am I gonna get a chance to go there if I'm not already in South Africa? And then maybe I should go to Lesotho, or maybe I should also go here and go there." And then I was like, "You're doing it again. You're trying to do too much." So I'm gonna have to prioritize the places I wanna see on that trip because Otherwise, I'm gonna be miserable because I'm just gonna be packing and unpacking, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So, yes, we will at some point when I start getting into that, we will do a live planning session. Okay. All right. Well, I want to say thank y'all for hanging out and participating in my chaotic nonsense this evening. Um, like I said, what's today? Wednesday, Friday will be a podcast episode. Maybe the Cuba vlog will be up on Monday. That is the goal, but I'm not gonna kill myself trying to get it up because my house guest will be here until Tuesday when I take her back home. So it's not always easy to video edit with her around. Okay. All right. Um, I know. I know. You're right. It is very true. I could literally go wherever I want, whenever I want. Um, but you're right. You're right. All right. I'm glad y'all hung out with me, had a little fun, laughed at my chaos. Um, thank you, Malaysia. 1911 for reminding everybody that. Please like the video. If you heard something here today and you're like, "Yeah, I like that girl. I wanna hear more of what she got to say," subscribe to the channel if you've not done that, and if you want to participate in the No Spin Challenge, which starts on the 16th, next Wednesday, you can still sign up. There is a link to that in the description. Is there a link to that in the description of this video? I don't know, but I'll put one there, okay? Pig travels the world slash spend challenge, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.